So good morning from Limassol, Cyprus, where we are at the NanoWeek of the European Nano Safety Cluster, and this is also the Nano Commons final conference. We are here today on the Thursday, June the 23rd, and this is our training day. And we start today now with the session one, which is having a speed dating and followed up by a wrap up and roundtable discussion on decision support systems for safety and sustainability by design. During this speed dating, we are encountering several different decision support systems in a kind of practical insight view. And these decision support systems are going to be presented by Massimo Perucca, for example, from Project SIS, presenting DSS that is used in the ASINA project, or by Walter Franzmann and Susan Deckers from TNO and RIBM, or Lisa Pizzol from Green Decision, or Carlos Fito, ITENE, Philip Dioganis from the National Technical University of Athens, or by Isabel Rodriguez from GAICA. And all these different decision support systems are further developed, used for case studies during in the NMBP 15 projects, ASINA, Sabina, Sabidoma, or SPD for Nano, as well as in NMBP 16 projects such as Sunshine, Diagonal, or Harmless. And this will then be followed by a wrap-up panel discussion. And for this, I have invited Andreas Falk from BNN, who is also a spokesman of the SASCAM network, and by Sheen Kelly from the National Nanotechnology Industry Association, as well as by Soko Vasquez from LITAT, who is also chairing the task force of the Working Group E of the Nano Safety Cluster on harmonization of decision support systems. And of course, also to this panel discussion, all the decision support system presenters are invited. I am Martin Himbley from the University of Salzburg. I'm chairing the Working Group A on Education, Training, and Communication of the Nano Safety Cluster. And I'm also going to moderate the panel discussion later. So this is basically the program. So we start with the speed dating, which is taking 1.5 hours. The people that are gathered there, mainly it's actually scientists, but also some industry representatives and regulators we had there. Did get some deep insight, and you can see there is interaction with the presenters here, and then followed up by panel discussions. I have read the people that are contributing to this panel discussion earlier already. So a little bit of insight into how this is going on. See here Philip Dioganis from National Technical University presenting their decision support system, or here Massimo Perucca talking to Jeff Yan and to Sean Kelly at this instance, for example, or here Carlos Fito giving some insight into the SPD for Nano's decision support system. Soko is just preparing with her colleagues for the first people visiting her booth. Here, Susan Deckers, for example, also showing their tool. Again, some insight. You see some kind of interesting discussions with representatives of the NanoWeek going on, as well as also interactions between the different projects. So we see here also on some of the slides that, for example, here Susan Deckers is talking to Lisa Pizzol, for example. So a kind of interaction between different presenters and different developers of such type of systems. Good. You see, the longer it took this speed dating session, the more intense the discussions went on, and the more down to the facts these discussions went. I mean, you really had the involvement of people you see here getting into the facts in a very quite detailed way. Yes, actually also on quite practical examples. So you see here Philip drawing basically different applications and kind of designing ideas how to kind of apply such and deploy such kind of system. Good. What were the guiding questions throughout this speed dating that somehow we were asking, basically? So, what can I expect from decision support systems? What do I need to know in advance in order to be able to use it? For whom is it useful? Can I use it? Is it application? Is it applicable to my specific case that I need it for? And do we actually have what we need? So this is then basically also already something that we wanted to kind of follow up in the wrap up roundtable discussion. So there we had the guiding questions of what do decision support systems for safety and sustainability by design deliver, and how to implement such type of systems in real life. We had at the beginning of our panel discussion, actually I invited Andreas Falk and Sean Kelly, so some initial statements, and I would like to cite now the initial statements of Andreas Falk. He was somehow initiating the discussion by kind of following up these questions that I was posing. The session on this decision support systems enabled insight to different approaches, how to address safety and sustainability by design, either along their entire life cycle or focusing on some parts of it, like, for example, occupational safety. Thus, the complementarity of the presented decision support system is there, and it seems appropriate to have a common fundament where all the decision support systems are visible. Specifically, such an overview shall include a short description that includes who shall or can be the user of which decision support system, as these spans from technical staff of companies in a kind of self-service way to expert needing some support, consultancy services, for instance. Maybe it is even possible to install a search function that enables a potential user to identify the decision support system that fits best to the needs. Such a quick identification could reduce the barrier for industry to find their way towards potential support tools. So this was the statement of Andreas Falk from BNN, and I would also like to cite Sean Kelly's initial statement at the beginning of the discussion. He was saying, it is great to see some of the tools that can be used to support decision-making in nanomaterials development. However, having the tools available is only the start, as there is a need to disseminate their existence to a wider world and to build up the number of users. The rapid development of so many tools within various projects creates a small problem that needs to be overcome in making it understandable for potential users as to how and when they can use these tools to help them develop new materials and make their life easier in submitting regulatory dossiers. The next step for many of the tools is now to communicate what they have to potential users. We must stop talking about the features of the various tools and concentrate on the benefits to users. Why should they use the tool? What will the tool enable them to do cheaper, quicker, more efficiently? In short, what are the benefits of using this tool and when should they use it? The promise of a portal bringing together the various tools that has been promised by the NMBP 13 projects, Go for Nano, NanoWeek, RISC-ON. This portal will be invaluable for providing a single access point, but this requires all tools owners work collaboratively to present the suite of tools available for users. We must simplify the complex work that has been achieved in all of the Nano Safety Cluster projects in a way that allows industry to see how they can use the results of the projects in their work. Developing the tools is not the end of the job, it is merely at the beginning. As without their use in industry and regulation, we will have failed to deliver the impact that our projects promised. Quite an important and strong statement, of course, by Sean Kelly from the Nanotechnology Industry Association. And I guess with this, we will now jump directly into the panel discussion where in the beginning, we visited the reliability of the tools and underlying data. So with this, I gave the word to Massimo Perucca in the panel discussion, which we're now following.
Environmental impacts and the need to refer to a safety database. but functionalities have to be assessed. Otherwise, industrial world will not be interested in something which is not functional, will not be competitive. So the idea is to work in conjunction between the real world and the algorithm IT.
Okay, thanks for that. You want to say something, Andreas?
Just a short comment on the data. We know from Schmidt, okay, there are several facilities or things or platforms available where the data can be harvested from. I think in some of the tools it's already with NanoWeek and linked with that. It would be wonderful if we get to the point that maybe the declaration of the Amazon is the thing which you should also join with your tools that you go there and try to be part of that, to agree on a certain kind of way forward, to have the, let's say, hopefully one data source that is reliable and maintained, that it's a lot of effort and money put there to make it happen.
Good. Over the microphone to Carlos.
Can I just say, I'll say one thing really, really quickly before I hand the microphone. Soccer's desperate to get it. So, yeah, the one thing I would say, it's by design. That's the other thing to remember, by design. By design often means we don't have data. If we had data, we wouldn't be doing it by design. We've already done it.
Well, thank you. So one big question is how we can engage the companies. So my reflection here is probably if I say raise your hands if you are a company here, probably we have up to two probably. Please raise your hands. One company. So that's a big issue in this nano safety area. So I realized during the NanoWeek that if we want to engage companies, we need to make something. So we need to engage companies in this kind of meetings and clusters. Of course, we are doing proposals. We're writing proposals to get the funds, but at the end, we need to transfer all the resources to the companies. So one way is we need to disseminate and communicate our resources, and also we have to hear from industry what they want in our tools. So we are developing extremely scientist tools, very good tools, but we need to know if these tools are or not functional for them. So my opinion here is, okay, all of us are working on nano safety for years. We know the industry, but we need to engage them in the future NanoWeeks and future at the end this kind of meetings, and try to engage them in this kind of panels and do something that is realistic for them. Of course, and for the modelers, the data are very important. So as coordinator of the Safe Nano project, we were trying to sing this kind of declaration just to make these tools and data in the field. But we need the companies to be here. So that's the big point.
The question is for me, do we get ever companies to join the NanoWeek, or do you have to go elsewhere?
You have to go to the companies.
Okay.
No, that's it. You have to go.
Okay, so I learned this also. I mean, I learned to discuss this over there, right? You have to go to the companies. They are not going to come here. They are elsewhere. You told me already where that very big exhibition style thing, right?
Yeah.
And what do you need there? Because of the effect sheet of very small and kind of concise information pitches, like whenever you pass by in Athens at the restaurant, you kind of break into. You need to have the people that do this kind of stuff, right? Who wants to comment on that?
Yes, I would like to add also another thing, because it's correct companies, but I think that these tools need also a strong involvement of regulators that can promote the tools within, for example, the regulation or guidelines or something like this, because then companies are more in line, let's say, in using them, because the regulator already recognize this tool as something that can provide data and assessment that, for example, can be used in the regulatory approval of medical devices, medicinal products, or also in risk assessment and so on. So the constant involvement of regulation along the development of this tool is something that should be improved, in my opinion, and should also bring a final tool that is recognized.
How do we get them? Unless we invite them to our projects. I mean,
that's
Maybe we should not always rely on the doctor.
yes. On the project, sometimes to organize specific workshop on that, it's a difficult task, but I think that is something that could help in the recognition of this tool and in using this tool in real life, because to be honest, most of these tools are for experts, and it's also correct that they are for experts because they are very complex. And I do not know if within a company, for example, you have the expertise to run these tools. I arrived to the conclusion that maybe these tools are for experts when they are supporting companies in making their job and not directly for companies. But this is my. So I don't know.
Maybe just to shortly comment on what you say. I presented yesterday the track framework, which is meant to, let's say, give some sort of a labeling system on tools, and I think that can be combined with the portal to identify which tools are for which purpose and which are user friendly and which are regulatory accepted. So it's just a starting point, but I think we need to identify and distinguish the better from the worse tools.
Would you like to add something on this?
No,
Open a new.
Because we are already quite in this direction of transfer now. I would like to come back once more a little bit on, do we have everything? I saw there was lots of very intense interaction also in your booth, Philip, with industry, and there were kind of lively discussions on, do we have everything? Do we need more information for some of these tools? Now getting a little bit more technical. Then.
I don't know about tools in general. I could talk about ours. I mean, I really like this session because it allowed us to get in contact with people and actually see what they would like, and in a sense also see the language they would like to be spoken to, because it's an entirely different way to write deliverables and to talk to someone who's in industry and is burning for an answer to a specific question. To the point that the projects provide an answer to that, I think there could be, but there could be a liaison with industry, but I would like to see some more immediate collaboration. Sometimes, I feel that one-on-one collaboration could work faster in some cases, but I don't know if companies can really say that they have a need in product A because they're using nanomaterial B. I've heard they're quite hesitant to do that, so I don't know how that can work.
I'll quickly look into the audience whether somebody would like to add. Ineke, you have also been investigating.
Just coming back to your comment about the regulators. I mean, in Wisdom, we have a lot of discussion about contributing to the test guidelines of the OECD. But would there also be an opportunity to get test guidelines for decision support tools or other tools which are used? So get a recommendation of which kind of tools would be useful and how?
That's really clear.
To you?
It's me or not?
I don't know.
You are skipping.
No, I don't think you want to do that.
Yeah, I think we need to do that. So I think what I wanted to say also really that we are at the moment we are 7 projects running projects. So they're still working on it. That we have our aims, but the global aim of this project is to come up with solutions for the industry to implement this safe and sustainable by design concept in their innovation process. So this is the aim for all of us, 7 projects, and you see all the platforms, frameworks, tools that we are developing, in one more complex than the other or less complex, and relying also on what has been developed before in previous projects, because we are not, of course, doing again the risk assessment tools. But all that leads to overlaps, leads to doing similar things in some parts of these tools. So I go back to the beginning statements that I think we need, at the moment, in each project, they have their own goals and we have our own goals. So we need to comply with that. But at the end of the projects, we need to give solutions to the industry and give a really easy solution, let's say, really short message where they can go to solve each of the problems they have. So as Ineke was saying, I think there is a need to have something that instructs the user where if I want to solve this, then I go to this one. If I want to solve this question, I go to this one. Or so highlight of these 7 projects, what is the different thing that you provide in your tool, in your portal, in your platform that is different from the others and that can help in a way that the others cannot help. And then, of course, in the common part, then we can guide to one of them to do this part. So I think this is an effort that that we should do from now on. I think it's a good start during the execution of our projects. And I think I invite everybody to contribute to this opinion and how we best do it, but also to start thinking about it. This is maybe a starting point of the discussion, but also we should continue this discussion. So we give the opportunity to continue this discussion in the working group E that is dedicated to safe and sustainable by design. So it's open. So I think the next meeting will be on this. So how we better do better for the use of the industry and any end user that we want to reach with all our platforms, tools, and frameworks. So that's my point. Then I have another point about the data. So I agree that it's by design. So there's no data. There's something that you are designing, so you don't have the data. But we need to have access to these databases that we had a discussion the other day. So I don't want to go back. But we are trying to access all the existing data as much as possible, because even if it's by design, these tools and these platforms, they need, they have methodologies behind to help the user that they need data. And this data is the data that we already produce. So, and there's methodologies of grouping and read across, all that are used for the background of these tools to run and to give answers to these users. So we do need data, not that they do have it, but that we have it for our process that is behind, that doesn't need to be seen by a user. So that's it.
Good, thanks for that. Follow-up statement by Susanna, and then I have a question.
Yeah, I really like your proposal to really, well, link to each other. And I think we can even go a little bit further by actually, if you have a tool, electronically link to each other and use each other. And so make it easier so that the user doesn't have to access each tool separately.
Yeah.
So interlink and combine, and then even go further to your next statement on data, is you have also access to data, so to integrate the whole thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is of course the ideal world
Challenge.
where everything is connected to each other, and the machine learning and AI will come up with the answer, which is crystal clear. That is a little bit too far stretched, but I think we can make an effort among the projects to really make this happen and make use of what we have developed within the other projects that make take it a little bit further. So we actually add and we complement it instead of making the same thing.
Okay, good to hear that this is obviously going to go on, and this is going to be taken up by the working group and this task force. question. What do you want to have for it? How much will it cost? And how is it going to be structured in a way? Is there a kind of a basic version, cheaper? And then having several extensions, upgrades, or different modules? How could we do that? And then I will ask industry what we to pay for it.
I would really like to start from the portal, as I just said. I think that's the area where we go now. That has been implemented by the 3 risk governance projects on the place to be. So I think we should not deviate from that. Otherwise, people get confused on where to go to. So I think that should really be a one-stop shop.
Is in agreement with each of the 7?
And we already agreed. I think we had another declaration. So we have a lot of declarations inside. We had a discussion yesterday, also because that there should be not one partner, I think, that has a commercial interest in exploiting that. I think that needs to be open to anyone without payment. And then you can be directed to various platforms, tools, data, guidance, whatever you need. And then it's up to the tool developers themselves to decide on whether they need to pay for it. But that's for me, the ideal systems. You have one place where you can go and connect to all the other tools and platforms, because there will be more. There's no end to this. There will be new tools in the future, new data in the future. So you cannot say, well, we only limit ourselves to what we do now.
Which area are we talking about price-wise for some of these modules that we are already working on?
Can I I think I think this is the direction that we have to go now. It's just a continuation of what I think the portal is important, but also another issue that comes is who is going to be sustaining that in the future. So that's really an open Pandora box. So that's the problem we do have, because you say everything should be no cost behind that, but then who is maintaining that without any costs and any because if you have a place where you have so many tools to be run, then you need to maintain that somehow.
Right. One day we need to talk about money.
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
figures,
Yes.
or at least digits, how many?
Okay, that is the topic of money is really challenging, also because the problem is this. Usually decision support systems are built according to experience of many partners within a consortium. So how then to divide the benefit, let's say, among the partners that really develop it, and how to define the percentage of participation in the benefit. So the conclusion that we arrive is that maybe we can sell directly the tool as it is, but maybe the services that are related to the tool. So in that case, when you apply the tool to a specific case, you have different expertise that are coming with the application of the tool, and the remuneration is associated to that instead of the application of the tool itself.
Like the Luminex machine you get for free, but the antibodies cost.
Yeah, more or less. So that could be a business model. It depends a lot on who is developing the tool, how is the process of developing, and how is the application. Also, because I do not think that an industry is interested in buying a tool, but more on the result that that tool will bring to them. And it is maybe really more to pay for the consultancies that is associated to the application of that tool.
Okay.
So that is.
Sean?
Yeah, one of the things I was going to say is certainly Soccer. I like the idea of putting everything together. Sustainability really is, I think, important. And again, just to be controversial, the Commission sometimes has done us no favours. They've given a lot of money to design a lot of things, but not thought about sustainability. The insistence that things should be free was not always a good idea, because in the other projects, when things get designed, and companies make money from them. And I think that's always been the challenge, sustainability. in some ways, there's no point having the tools if at the end of a 3-year project, they
Yeah.
have a 2-year lifespan until the tool collapses because the website stops working.
Yeah.
I already did some research in this area on different business plans, and roughly speaking, there's 3 different business plans. One is, as we did for Stoffer Managers, create a spin out into a commercial company that raises money by memberships, and they survive. They have thousands of people accessing the tool and people paying for that. That's one. The second is, I think that some government just gives you a bag of money to sustain whatever you have. And the third is what we do now is basically evolving every project into the new project, into a new project, into a new project, in which we can further develop the tools, which may not be even a bad idea, although you're always dependent on the next step. And if there is no next step, you'll die. That's roughly the 3.
Over to industry.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Sorry that I just arrived too late, but had some good discussions, and I see that there's a future to repeat this. Before I say sustainability, it needs to be sustainable. That's correct. It needs to last so long, otherwise it will never get the credit industry. The price we can talk about this later. Depends which kind of nano manufacturer it is, because some nanomaterials are very expensive per unit, and the other one are very cheap. So I think it's not viable. But the thing is, like, I want to emphasize this, what Sean brought up from the beginning, to make it more attractive for the industry. And how can you do it? I would think of go to events, go to situations where, for instance, expos where industry, the non-manufacturer is searching for his customers. That's one thing. Next thing would be, would be like the non-material expert group, who from Civic, who can be in direct contact with this kind of organization, that you can announce that this event will take place. Make yourself accessible, make yourself known. That would be a very good start. And the third thing would be to make it much stronger and to succeed in that, it's you need to create a market, a very strong marketing plan that you really are talking about very simple things that you have headlines that industry would connect with. When you make it too complicated, they will turn the backs. And sorry to say this, if you like to have more attraction from the regulators, the industry will never come. I'm quite sure. Thanks for that. One more question.
Aligned to what industry have just made, and so mentioned that each project has their own objectives, but on the other side, it would be nice to align. Would be, you are the experts, and each one of you are in a different project. Could you imagine to go all together to an event, fair, whatever, and organize a joint exploitation workshop like today, but really in a big event? Because we have already had the this topic, and it was not really that clear that the project want to, of course, each project just want to show their approval, but we have to realize that it is not possible to sustain 100 tools. Could it be possible?
So your hand raised.
It's a very good point. To get in touch with the industrial world, we have to go to industries. This was already mentioned before. That's what we did weeks ago. And it's not easy to get in touch with company. You have to have a promotional project. You have to organize workshops, yes, to involve them, and to get into specific problems. So as long as companies are involved, then the game becomes interesting for them, because they perceive the use, the usability of the tools and the benefit they can get out of it. we are a company, so we are really thinking about having a business plan on our tool, but of course, we could be very interested to have a common powerful platform with plenty of valuable data. This is the value. So not only algorithms, but data. And I want to stress more the point, we are already developing tools for other purposes for companies. Tools are living stuff, you need people behind. People are expensive, and so you have to find out a way to set up a business plan in which involves manpower costs, supporting.
Good, thanks for that. I guess we have collected many things.
Andrew.
Okay, a short comment. You had mentioned safety. Maybe you remember that yesterday Iris project was presented. And I'm standing here also in my function as a chemistry. One of our goals with Iris was to connect the nanosafety community with the sustainable chemistry community to get the access to the industry, at least the chemical sector. They are also playing, of course, in other sectors, but definitely this is one of the entry points. And maybe at one of the next stakeholder forum events of the Sustainable Chemistry Organization, where normally the majority is industry there, it makes sense to kind of have a proof of the tools. I will try my best that I can filter that in somehow, because I think that makes some new channels and opens new channels.
Thanks, Andreas, for that. We are getting close to the final statement. Andrew, short one.
As leader and pioneer of working group E, I'm really glad over 2.5 years right through the lockdown. I absolutely endorse what Saka has said. I have actually found that working group E has become intuitive use, and although the words of making general tools from all our projects are very nice, I can tell you that the way it's going at the moment, we're not going to be able to do it at all by any means. If someone doesn't recently, that's fine, they can carry on digging group experiment. But if that group is going to produce some kind of tool from all the people involved, the 7 projects, the 7 initial projects in statewide design are pioneers. We know about it. We are producing things. I think it's a question of these 7 projects leading the working group, and actually to Saka and myself looking what we have in common and what we have different. And we're all meeting up in Venice with Emma Costa in September, and we can actually come to some kind of conclusion there. But I'm all for this working together. I've really pushed for it in my 30 years of leading EU projects, and it hasn't been easy. But we've always produced good work when we produce joint with other projects. So that's my last word.
Thanks for that, Andrew. Kevin?
So my perception is that a tool is created, but a need exists. So I'm not sure if the need exists. So because so there will be a lot of companies demanding these tools. So there will be a lot of companies monitoring the evolution of these tools. So what do you think? What do the panel think about this perception? Especially so, because you are representing the industry.
Okay. Have companies asked for these tools?
No.
Has anyone seen a company saying, I'd really like some tools to do this? Or have we seen the commission ask for the tools? And I think this is one of the problems, is that in some ways the commission's being very forward-looking. It's looking forward to what the commission wants, where the commission would like to go with regulation along the safe and sustainable by design path. The tools in some ways were very quite an early intervention in that, even before the commission's kind of said what really safe and sustainable by design is and how you get there and what the pathway is. Industry, I don't think necessarily is set that they're going, oh, I can't wait for these tools to come out, which is why I think there is the struggle, which is why I think you need to turn around and really get out to industry, go out to find the trade shows. There's a lot of trade shows out there for all different sorts of sectors. Get a booth, go out, reduce your pitch to 30 seconds, keep it really simple. As Gunther said, industry really, people walking around trade shows do not spend 10 minutes finding out if what you're doing is useful. 30-second pitch, if they're interested, they'll stand and talk to you, follow up, see what they want, and then try and adapt it. The idea of having a platform with the tools on is really good. But we all know the challenges with that, because IP becomes an issue, who created what becomes an issue, who gets value out of what, and also who's going to pay the bill. But as I said, I think industry is not exactly desperately waiting for these tools, because they know what they need to do in regulation. What the aim should be is to make sure that you identify what the need is and then service that need, and then tell industry how you're going to do that.
Good. I guess you have summarized it quite well. We are at the end of the session. And actually
Final statement.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that these tools are very different. So I don't like when we talk about tools like they were all the same thing. So I could see a need, for example, for risk assessment tools. And I think sometimes we are heading to the wrong people. Because for me, sometimes it's contradictory organizations who will benefit from it. Yeah, so I think sometimes we really have to see who our customer will be. And sometimes it's not the may not be users, but the producers. Maybe we are looking at contract representation. And we forget about them, and they may be the users of some of these. But they are very different tools. And sometimes the collection of tools we have, like, I don't know, right now, they have many. So I put it everything in one basket. And the other thing I wanted to say some time ago is how can we trust these tools? Because if I use a tool like NanoWeek, for example, I trust the tool for giving me a normally, because I know this tool was from this kind of data. So we have to see, I mean, someone wants to use a tool, maybe they want to know how can we trust it. So, I don't know, maybe we have to work a little bit more on this. They will have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, just hi everybody. I want just to stress once more the importance of virus, because I don't know if you got it really clear or if I have delivered it really clear. Yesterday it wasn't really clearly. Iris is putting together all the knowledge that is already available. We have to map it in the page 1 with all your help, support, okay? From there, we will merge together the needs from the life cycles assessment and also those kinds of industries that are, yes, in contact with SEBI. And all together, we will create the gap analysis. And once we individuate the gap analysis, we can go to create the roadmap. And I think that this is perfect, and it's aligned all of what we have said, and I think it's close the circle. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Greg, for this note. I would also like to remind that there were already gap analysis in the was with another conflict once. He has to be sitting there, consult with him, his experience. I guess we have collected a number of things. Going jointly, having a portal, having tools, being also different, having diversity, also access to this diversity in different ways that we do have to buy an entire package, doesn't make sense. Liaise a little bit more with regulators, don't forget about the number of different organizations that are not industry, but also said, I mean, some players are also available where both are scoring and some are where it's not so good, capture also the regulators or vice versa. And in the end, we probably, hopefully, then we'll come up with something.
We continue in the working group E.
Yes, and this is going to be carried forward in the next session already. And in September, there will be already results presented. The recording will be available to you.
Okay.
I hope it was capturing most of it. Thanks to all for your interactive participation. Have fun with the coffee break and with the rest of the training day. After the coffee break, we reconvene here for looking into AOP and pathways and become a little bit more mechanism. But also very exciting developments. Good. See you later.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well done, Martin.
Thank you for your interest in our training on behalf of the Nano Commons project team and the European Union Nano Safety Cluster. Have a nice day.